Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you.
Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley on this beautiful, beautiful spring morning where we have this incredible music. She's going to be one of those singing ministers, you know? Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, someone in the back there is like, woo.
Yeah. Well, our theme this month is spirituality in action. The theme for the year is spirituality in action. The theme for the month is diversity and inclusion. And today's talk is inclusion and exclusion. Inclusion and exclusion. Now, the definition of exclusion is the act of excluding or of shutting out, whether by thrusting out or by preventing admission, rejection, prohibition, the state of being excluded as from exclusive circles in society. Now, many of us can remember times that we were or felt excluded, I bet. I mean, maybe it was in elementary school when teams were being picked and you were afraid you were going to be the last one picked. Maybe it was middle school or junior high school or high school when there was the in-group and it seemed like they were always having so much fun and you were excluded. Maybe it was when you were a single person and it seemed like everybody around you was married and you felt left out. Or maybe you just didn't quite feel that you belonged in your family or with the people around you. Has anybody else experienced that sort of thing? I think we all have. Now, inclusion, by definition, means that all parts participate in the whole. Now, if we lived from the truth of our divine oneness, if we remembered that we are all connected and that we all come from that same amazing essence, then there wouldn't be any otherness. There wouldn't be any otherness. Because anytime we have the us versus them thing going on, then there are the in-groups and the out-groups. There are some who are included, and there are some who are outsiders, the others, and being excluded. So who might those others be in our society? Well, they could be people who speak a different language or have different colored skin. They could be people who are poor or those who are rich, those who are young, those who are old, those who are born in a different country, or fill in the blank. Because always somebody is being treated as others, outsiders, unfortunately. But, you know, when we're the part of the dominant cultural group, like white people, we sometimes forget that everybody doesn't think like we do. Everybody doesn't want the same things in exactly the same way. Everybody doesn't strive for the same things in their lives. Now, it's not that we're all the same, of course we're not, but there are some cultural perspectives that we tend to carry around, and we tend to assume that everybody wants the same thing, that everybody believes the same thing, that everybody's life is on the same kind of trajectory as ours. And when we assume that, we are unintentionally, and I want to repeat that word, unintentionally excluding people by not allowing them to show up in all of their glory with all of their gifts. Tracy Brown, who is chair of the Leadership Council of Centers for Spiritual Living, our larger organization, she's an amazing part of the Leadership Council. She wrote a book, and in it, she said, inclusion, or the lack thereof, reflects the cultural and individual choices we make. If we're socialized to engage with people who are different from us, we will. If we are socialized to judge, ostracize, or fear people who are different from us, from ourselves, we establish or experience separation, us and them. Inclusion is the environment or culture we create when we recognize, honor, and utilize the diversity within a given group. Inclusion is not automatic. It requires deliberate intention and consistent action. One of those things that we're just not always aware of, those of us who are in the dominant cultural group. Inclusion means real acceptance. It's not, oh, you can be part of us if you think like we do, or if you at least pretend to think like we do, and of course you need to act like we do, then you can be part of us. But that's not true inclusion. Because unless we are able to see people as individuals who bring their culture, who bring their background, then we are missing out. We are not allowing them to be valued as an important part of the whole. Now, I think of companies that support their Muslim employees by providing time and space for them to do their regular prayers. Now, that's honoring those employees. That's absolutely saying, we know that this is an important part of your life, and we want you to be all that you can be as you work here. And so they get to do their prayers. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we all got to show up and have time to get prayed up with whatever we are doing? I mean, what a gift. The employers are getting a lot back as well. Or companies that recognize the importance of providing spaces and time for breastfeeding mothers to pump their milk. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of the employees, but yet it's something that shows that they honor their employees, they honor what they need to do, and they want them to be able to show up fully at work with all of their gifts. All of their gifts. Such things allow individuals to meet their own needs and their cultural needs, not just be put up with, but to actually be a respected and important part of any team. They're included, not just tolerated. Because it's not about expecting everybody to be just like us, to value what we value and to want what we want. I'm reminded of a women's group, upper middle class women's group. These women did some amazing, amazing things, and they decided that they would make food baskets for a low-income community nearby. And these women were a little on the competitive side. So, yeah, and it was Thanksgiving time. So they got big baskets and big turkeys, and they put in sweet potatoes and pickles and celery and, that pimento cheese spread and Jell-O and strawberries and Cool Whip for that fluffy salad. And they put in just everything you could imagine for a Thanksgiving dinner. And so these were huge, beautiful, abundant baskets. The families that received the baskets, however, were families from Africa, immigrants from Africa. Some of them were vegetarians. None of them had ever experienced a traditional American Thanksgiving. Many of them didn't have a pan or an oven big enough to cook the turkey. And most of them, none of them had grandma's recipes. And so they didn't even necessarily know what to do with the items that were so lovingly prepared for them. They assumed that at Thanksgiving time, anybody would just love this wonderful basket full of great stuff. But that wasn't the culture of the people. They would have so much been better off, everybody, if they had asked the folks what they'd like. If they had said, how can we serve you? Instead of giving them just what they wanted. It's said that there's the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And there's also a platinum rule. Do unto others as they would like to receive. Do unto others as they would like to receive. Now, one of the things that I assure you that in our monthly outreach, we work with usually a different organization every month, and we ask them what we want, what they want. We don't just say, oh, this organization will get them this, but we ask them what they want, and then we're of much more service. An important part of the teaching of the science of mind, of course, is oneness. Oneness. But oneness does not mean sameness. We're all from the same source, but we are not all the same. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, "There's one spirit incarnated in everyone, an immortal presence forever expanding everything, causing everything to grow." What a difference it would make in our human relations if we tried to sense the meaning of this divine incarnation in all people and adjust our viewpoint to the truth that all are bound together in the unity of God. What is the key to living in peace, he asked. Inclusiveness, he answered. To bring everyone into the love and life of God, to see all as sacred and individualized expressions of the divine, accept all with unconditional love, invite and exclude no one. That would be inclusion beyond otherness. And so this brings us to the question of whether we as a spiritual community could be even more welcoming and inclusive as new folks come to our events and join us on Sunday mornings. Just a question, just something to think about, because the world is changing. Our world is changing as America continues to be the amazing melting pot that it has always been. If we want to create a world that works for everyone, it behooves us to recognize that spirit, essence, the essence of life, that godness, has chosen to express in myriad cultures, in a spectrum of colors and gender expressions, in a rainbow of ways of loving and living. So much diversity that comes all from that one foundation of love. And if we want to enrich our own lives, it behooves us not to assume that everybody is like us, but to recognize the value, the gifts, the joy, all of the things that people are not just like us have to offer. To open our hearts to all expressions of the divine. So that's a bit about inclusion and exclusion on a cultural and societal level. But I also want to talk about inclusion and exclusion on a personal level, on a spiritual level, because we're here on this spiritual journey, and there are things that we can learn from the ideas of inclusion and exclusion. When I was taking my very first Science of Mind class, we were encouraged to, with my sister here, we were encouraged to experiment with thinking and saying and feeling the phrase, okay, would you touch the pad, please? Okay. This seems to happen every week. Right. Yeah. We were encouraged to like really play with this phrase, deeply we are one. Deeply we are one as we looked around at other people and other beings, the animals, the four-leggeds, the clouds, the trees, the plants. Deeply we are one. Oh my God, I loved it. I was blissed out, feeling my deep and sacred connection to everyone and everything. Well, almost everyone and everything. What I found, and what I heard my sister say more than once, and what I said more than once is, deeply we are one, but not with that politician. Deeply we are one, but not with that rude person or that child molester. Deeply we are one, but, well, not with them. Not with them. Another form of us and them. A way of excluding people, putting people out of my heart, making some folks others. I was willing to see the goodness and the godness and the beauty and the joy in some people, even most people, but not everyone. There were those who had hurt me or those I loved so much that I put them out of my heart, not being willing to recognize that they too were born of the divine, energized by love, doing the best they can with whatever it was they had to work with. So from time to time, okay, I have to admit, still, sometimes, it's deeply we are one. But not with that jerk. Even, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on remembering that deeply we are one, even with those politicians that I don't like so well. You know, there is a oneness. And so I ask you this morning, is there anyone you have put out of your heart? Anyone that you have made, any one or ones that you have made others excluding? Anyone who has hurt or offended you or those you love so much that you can't open to see their divinity yet? Possibly there's someone for each, at least one person for each of us. So, whose name might come to you as you finish this phrase? Deeply we are one, but not with fill in the blank. Okay? Just think about that a moment. And a question. Are you willing to begin to let go of that or continue your journey in letting go of that? Because for most of us, this is an unending journey. As long as we are alive, we're still doing our work, ideally, right? So are you willing to open your heart to all expressions of the divine? Now, in a moment, I'm going to have you say our affirmation with me again. And if you're not completely sure after this question that I have, these questions that I have just asked, if you're not completely sure that it's true for you at this time, what I invite you to do is say it anyway. Try it on. See how it feels. See how it feels to be willing to open your heart to all expressions of the divine. You up for that?
Yep.
I am willing to open my heart to all expressions of the divine. Take a breath. Again. I am willing to open my heart to all of the expressions of the divine. Feel that. feel its truth or not. Now, if you're like me, there may still be some people that you have not opened your heart to. And if that's true, I invite you to do some forgiveness work, or more forgiveness work, because unfortunately it's not just a one-time deal. But there is so much power in forgiveness. When we forgive, we free ourselves. We free ourselves. The other person doesn't even know that forgiveness has happened, doesn't even need to know that forgiveness has happened, because forgiveness is a personal gift that we give to ourselves. It's a healing that we step into, saying yes, that we accept for ourselves. Now, the other person may be blessed as well by the energy that you put out, but I encourage you to do forgiveness knowing that it's a gift to yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened was okay. It doesn't mean that the person didn't do wrong. It just means that you are ready to let go of the burden of carrying around the past that is really only dragging you down and not affecting that other person at all. And even if you don't know how to forgive, exactly how to forgive, you can start that process today. You can continue that process today. Because the first and most important step of forgiveness is being willing to forgive. Being willing to turn over whatever it was that happened to the God of your understanding. Being willing to turn it over and say, okay, I am done with this. I don't want to carry this around in my mind and my heart anymore. Being willing to let go of the pain and the blame and to create a new history. Being willing to move past what has happened and create that new history that begins now. I want to close my talk today with a poem by M. Clare. Now, this is from the book that Lorelei read from last week that I just went out and got and have fallen in love with. There's some amazing poems in this book. So take a breath, close your eyes if you want to, and just open your heart and take this in. This history. Let the histories change then. If a Red Sea was ever truly parted, then let the same kind of miracle perform itself here. Let the histories change then. Every unrequited love shall be requited, every broken wing made whole. A history begins itself now, and you are maker of it. You are neither brick nor bauble, but a dreamer of what's next. This world that you're creating may not even need a foundation or decoration or oceans to manage. Let's not even decide on a name. But let the histories change now, all the same. And so as we're in that quiet place, I invite practitioners to stand with me in high consciousness as we move into prayer. I am so grateful that all are included in this oneness that we call God, and that there is so much diversity for us to enjoy, be curious about, learn about, appreciate. I am so grateful for this amazing community, Center for Spiritual Living, Boulder Valley. So grateful for the ones that show up, opening their hearts and go out into the world to take light, to take joy, to take abundance, to take all that they have opened their hearts to. And so I know that as each of us goes out this day, our paths are absolutely filled with all that is needed to remind us of the wonder and the beauty of others who may be a bit different from us, of all of the reminders that we live in this amazing, diverse world with zillions of kinds of trees that are bursting forth right now, the flowers that are bursting forth, so many, none of them just exactly the same. And so we honor the diversity within ourselves, within our community, within our country, and within the world. I absolutely know that as we contemplate these things, as we go forth with our affirmation to open our hearts to all of the expressions of the divine, we are blessed. We are absolutely blessed. Love lives here and we take it with us. It's a wondrous thing. All that we need for all that I have claimed has already been provided. All we have to do is open to it, step into it, give thanks for it. And so I do. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you.
One more time, everybody. Singer, songwriter extraordinaire.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Justice, a light for hope and peace like the world has never known, and love is who we've come here to be. A light for freedom, a light for joy and healing like the world has never known, and love is who we've come here to be. Oh, love is who we've come here to be.